Hi, welcome. I'm Sarah D. IF, I-F. The acronym IF is going to represent isolation and freedom. We have the freedom to distance without isolating. We can keep ourselves safe from a virus, say, or we can keep ourselves safe from rain or snow or very cold or very hot weather by distancing ourselves from those things. We get to choose to distance ourselves when it serves us well. We can choose to make that distance become isolation, which on average does not serve us well, because we're social creatures. And as much as even those of us who maybe think it's uncomfortable to be in public arenas up close and personal and always having to have that public face on, it still isn't emotionally healthy to be isolated all the time, to isolate yourself, because that's something we do. Nobody can isolate us. We are the only ones who can do that. I mean, even in with this past COVID stuff, people who were in the city would, go out on the porches and yell and talk to each other or sing and, do whatever it is that they did. You don't have to isolate even though you distance yourself from anything. You don't have to be isolated. So did I say that enough times? The last song I'm going to sing talks about that a little bit. Well, sings about it a little bit. That song's called Life is Difficult. These little things back here say life is very good and you do great work. Anyways, right, those little block things. Life is very good, you do great work. I made those for my grandsons a long time ago. I thought they were fun for a while. You can turn them over and they have different sayings on them. So, isolation and freedom. Then comes freedom. We are free to choose whether we're going to isolate or not. Okay, so when I was in Bloomington, Indiana, this was a long time ago, I wrote this song called Freedom. And I was learning about what freedom was, because there's freedom and then there's liberty. I'm not going to talk about liberty, but I'm going to talk about freedom. And absolute freedom, guess what that creates? It creates anarchy. Absolute freedom, untethered freedom, creates anarchy. Unbridled freedom. Weird, right? I bet most of you knew that. Maybe some of you didn't, though. Maybe you think if you could just do what you wanted to at any time, then you would really be free. And if they would just stop making you not be able to do this or this or this, then you would be free. Somebody's trying to take your freedom away. They can't. Freedom is one of those inside jobs, ultimately. And the reason it's anarchy, absolute freedom, is what I want to do at any given moment may not be in harmony with what you want me to be doing at any given moment, or with what you want to be doing. Or maybe we want to be going through the door at the same time. I want to have the freedom to go through the door at the same time, but you're going through the door, so we're going to smack right into each other. Or when you see my only granddaughter. No, not my only granddaughter. My youngest granddaughter. Sorry. Anyway, baby granddaughter. It's just learning that, I want that, I want that, I want that. But when it's another little child around her age or younger, that absolute freedom, it's a problem. We have to learn to bridle our freedom, our actions, so that we can actually have some freedom. So you probably get the idea of it. Even driving. If we didn't have the laws that we understood what was going on, I'm going to drive on the right side if we're in America, okay? I'm going to drive on the right side of the road, you drive on the right side of the road, we're not going to hit each other. If we both want to be driving, you want to be driving on your left side and I'm on the right, we're going to be colliding. Absolute freedom is anarchy. Okay, So this is a song I wrote when I was kind of learning about that. Freedom, I ask, what is freedom? Some say it's doing what you want at any time. Freedom, some ask, what is freedom? I say it's choosing what you think within your mind about the good and bad in the life you have. So there's peace within every climb. When my world looks dark and my dreams do fade, I can see the silver lining if I drive, and a brighter day soon will come my way, whether in reality or in my mind. What I focus on grows, it's simple, you know. Focus on the sun and dark clouds fly. Freedom, I ask, what is freedom? Some say it's doing what you want at any time. Freedom, I ask, some ask, sorry, what is freedom? I say it's doing what you think, choosing what you think within your mind. What do you think about that? About the good and bad in the life you have. So there's peace within at every climb. What you focus on grows, it's simple, you know. Focus on the sun. Focus on what's going well. Focus on the good, even though there's bad and dark clouds fly. So that's my song called Freedom. And when we focus on the sun, when we focus on what's going well, when we focus on what's doing right, what's helping propel us toward our goal, the usefulness of that is then we feel, oh yeah, I want that. And when we really want something, we do something about it. And we create movement toward that goal, and that movement toward that goal creates that momentum that is needed. And so we keep going toward it, and then we get more of what it is we said we wanted, because we did what was required to get what we wanted. And to get what we wanted did not require that we take from somebody else and diminish what they had. Because we created something more. Because that's what we are. We're creators. There's a story that I really like about the idea in that song where freedom is what you choose within your mind about the good and bad in your life. Everyone has a difficult life, and everyone has an ideal life. It just depends, half empty, half full glass. When I was in isolation a lot, when I chose isolation a lot, and when I still do that, because those kinds of things get to be a habit, it's not even half empty, there's nothing in the glass. It just goes pretty dark. So I've really got to focus on that sun. I've got to focus on what it is I want and focus on the blessing of getting what I want, so that I'm willing to go through the discomfort of not being in isolation, because once you're in isolation, that's where you're comfortable. You don't want to be out anywhere amongst people. This is safe. Anyway, one of my favorite stories about a woman and arranging her mind, and maybe you've heard this story. She was getting situated in a nursing home, and the nurse was showing her where her room was going to be, was taking her there, and was telling her about the room as she was going there. Well, your room has this, and we've got it arranged like this, and this is doing this, and all these details. Okay, I didn't do the details very well, but the woman said, each time the nurse said, oh, there's flowers here and there's a picture there, and the bed is situated so when the sun comes up it will come in your window, and then but there's dark shades you can put down if you don't want the sun to come up, and all these things. She was telling her about them with her words, and the woman hadn't seen the room yet. And the woman, each time the nurse said something about the way her room was, she said, oh my goodness, I love it. I love it. Oh, I love my room. And finally the nurse looked at her and said, how can you love your room? You haven't even seen it. And that's when she said, it doesn't matter what my room is. It doesn't matter how my room is arranged. What matters is how I arrange my mind. My mind. And so freedom is something that is a mind choice. We get to choose to be free within our mind, even if all of our liberties were taken away, which thankfully where I live, that's not a thing that will happen as long as we have our Constitution. And for those who in other countries where some of their freedoms and some of their liberties are taken away, you still can be free within your mind. You still can be free within your mind. It's not like it's easy all the time, though, that's for sure. I mean, life is good, but life is definitely also very difficult. And we all have just the perfect amount of difficulty we need in order to bring us to the throne of grace, where our difficulty and our weakness is made strong, and we're able to endure and move through and create that momentum for future growth. It's all a beautiful pattern that repeats. It repeats in nature all over the place. There is a geranium. I have 3 geraniums on my front porch. Now they're a plant, and they're a plant that it's really important to pull the dead heads off, meaning the blossoms that are dead, and also the leaves. I've been noticing this year. I have to really take the leaves off, and there's still some good green on the leaves, but they're like getting yellow or something. So I take them off, like if I don't water it enough. It's really cool though, because if I don't water it enough and it gets that way, I can water it and I just take those things off, and then it just goes, whoa, I'm so happy. But, plants are alive, and I can imagine there's pain involved in taking those parts off. And if we imagine we're a plant, and we've got these parts of us that are kind of withering a little bit, and we've got a lot of parts of us that are kind of withering a little bit, maybe we got to take those withering parts off so that we can have new birth happening. And a little story about that is, I learned this from somebody, I don't know who, I'm sorry, I can't attribute it to them because I can't remember who, but if you have 5 things that you're trying to do, which maybe seem reasonable to you, maybe it doesn't, sometimes maybe only 1 is reasonable, but say 5 is reasonable, and you have those 5 things you want to be doing, say this year, 5 kind of big goals, and by mid-year you've been working on these 3, but these 2 they just keep beating you up because they're there and you just haven't gotten to them. And you're working on these, but you're kind of feeling lousy about yourself because you're not getting these done, but they're there. And they're like that leaf that's got a little bit of green, but also some crusty stuff. And they're not quite dead, but they're not alive, and you can't get to them, and you don't even want to get to them, and they're just like, oh, how do I get rid of those? But they're there, and there's the goals I have for this year, and you're working these, but then you start to work these less because you start to feel pretty lousy about yourself because you're not doing these. So the advice was, okay, forgive yourself for being too aggressive in your goals for whatever was happening in this year that you couldn't foresee, and put these on your next year's goal. put these there and work on these 3. And let the momentum of that feed you forward. And that's what the geranium plant does. It starts to die and you have to take those off so it can just be like this. Anyway, we get to choose to have freedom. I told you I was going to do one more song. I hope this isn't too long. This one is, it's called Life is Difficult, and it talks about isolation and about that silver lining and about arranging our mind so that we can live that life that we want. Sometimes all you have are your dreams to comfort you, until you can bring them into reality. Because just like a baby in a belly, there's a time period of that gestation. We know with people it's about 9 months. But for a dream in your head, we don't know. Each dream is different. We don't know how long that gestational period is, and so we have to hold that in our imagination and then move our action toward it until we do create our dreams. And then arrange our mind so that we are happy with them, even if they're not quite exactly like we had planned. And then continue on. Just keep creating, keep adjusting. Life is difficult, imagine that. Life is what you make it. But a dream where you can have all you create. There will always be someone who's got it better than you. There will always be someone who's got it more difficult too. Life's amazing, take a stand. Where will you take it? Will you see the best at hand, or will you be jaded? There will always be someone who's got it better than you. There will always be someone who's got it more difficult too. The sun is always shining through the silver lining. If you refuse to open your eyes, you ain't ever gonna see the light. Isolation from the crowd, ivory tower, hand to hand, fear and doubt. Every hour there will always be someone who's got it better than you. There will always be someone who's got it more difficult too. There will always be someone who's got it better than you. There will always be someone who's got it more difficult too. Change direction, walk about, find a reason, open arms, embrace the shower of the season. There will always be someone who's got it better than you. There will always be someone who's got it more difficult, got it more difficult, got it more difficult too. If I isolation, freedom. Life is difficult. Life is good. I'm Sarah D. Make it a great day.